but sometimes it's one of those times. And sorry I haven't reviewed Skyscraper, but for the past few days I've been in San Jose del Cabo. Great place, beautiful place. We had a lot of fun. Got myself a little bit of a tan, but I probably still look like a zombie because I just got in. And it was a non-stop flight that had a layover that they didn't call a layover. They simply called it landing the plane in a city that's not the destination to go through customs, only to sit around the airport for a couple of hours, get back on the plane, then fly to Seattle, but it's not a layover, which totally sounds like a layover. Point is, it's late. I don't have time to watch Skyscraper. I have a busy weekend in Seattle, and Octopath Traveler just came out. I mean, come on. So I'll be honest with you, I might have missed Skyscraper forever. But I'm gonna talk about the Joker. And apparently Joaquin Phoenix is actually signed on to play the Joker in a standalone Joker movie. Jared Leto is still apparently the Joker, but this is just a completely detached thing. And it's an origin story. And when I talked about this, it was about 10 months ago. I was like, I don't want to see a Joker origin story. I'm interested in what they can do with this, but I don't want to see a Joker origin story. But after Joaquin Phoenix was signed on, like, Joaquin Phoenix sold me on it. Not the origin story necessarily. It being a detached thing, even if you don't like the origin story, you still have Jared Leto's Joker. You still have the Dark Knight. Who are we kidding? I've always been the naysayer when it comes to a Joker origin story because not knowing his origin makes him a little creepier. You don't know where the guy's coming from. I like that. It's very intriguing. But hearing they want to make this smaller budget character piece starring Joaquin Phoenix, that kind of changes my tone. It's an angle I didn't think they would go, and apparently they're doing it. Like, I would rather them make a movie that doesn't feel like a comic book movie, doesn't feel like a Joker movie. Keep the budget low enough, it's like they're forced to make a character piece. A lot of studios would sweat, like, wait, we can't make the big explosions and the what do we do? Not that the MCU hasn't had good characters in their big budget comic book movie. They've had some great characters with some great moments. I feel like that's another thing entirely. I think that'd be a neat take. I feel like that's what Sony wants to do with the Venom movie. I think that's a good call. Me saying it's a good call doesn't mean the movie is going to be great. If the movie does suck, I still think it's a good call. You can make a good call and not stick the landing. Those are two completely separate things, separate arguments. So I hope the Venom movie's good. And I hope this Joker movie's good. Also, it being an origin story, it makes me think, is Joaquin Phoenix going to be the Joker as he's been the Joker for a while? Then it goes back to show his origin. Maybe he's younger. Is it going to be a different actor? I'd like to see Joaquin Phoenix do both. I'm just saying Joaquin Phoenix isn't like the youngest human ever. Not the oldest either, but I'm just saying I feel like he'd be a Joker who's been the Joker for a bit. So if you're going to show his origin, are you going to show it in flashback scenes? Is it going to be chronological? I feel like the best thing they could have done with this is past its time. And that would be, we wouldn't even be talking about it because we wouldn't know this is a Joker origin story. It'd be like, Joaquin Phoenix is doing this small movie about this wrecked man. And then people watch it and in the end they're like, oh my God, that's a Joker origin story. That'd be the greatest twist ever. I mean, the time I've seen that is Shyamalan. If you haven't seen Split, see Split. I'll still try to keep it vague in case you haven't seen Split, but you should see Split. But Shyamalan could have been like, oh, by the way, it's tied into this, and more people would have seen the movie. But he was like, I'll just do it, and then I want to blow some minds at the end. And he didn't. I thought it was really effective. That could have been the best thing they could have done with the Joker origin story, but it's not going to be because now we know it's happening. Now we know Joaquin Phoenix is going to be the Joker, so everyone's going to have their eyes on it. And I feel like this thing could gain momentum to be a runaway train at some point. There's going to be this $50 million character piece. It's now a big budget comic book movie like all the rest. And I feel like Joaquin Phoenix would shut that shit down if he could. And if he couldn't, he'd probably just try to walk away from it. So based on his excitement for the movie should show what they're doing with the movie. Whether or not it's still in line with what Joaquin Phoenix wanted in the first place. He'll make it his own thing. He is method as hell. I don't think he's gonna mail dead rats to people because you don't need to do that. It's not about that. That's a shtick. I don't think Joaquin Phoenix is gonna make it a shtick. By the end, I feel like Joaquin Phoenix will know more about the Joker than any of us. And that really excites me that you have an actor who really cares. If for nothing else, this small budget Joker origin story with an actor who will take it seriously shows me a large element of maturity and adaptation from Warner Brothers and DC. We live in a world where a lot of people feel that you take people's mistakes and they're just there. Mistakes are there to talk shit on Twitter because likes and retweets, baby. But I really feel it's important to keep mistakes in perspective. If you make a mistake, whether you're a human being or a studio, you should take pride in your mistakes. Be like, oh, I made that huge mistake. I will take that information and proceed accordingly. I will learn from that mistake. How great is that mistake? That it's an opportunity to learn. So I wasn't there among the DC board meetings or meeting rooms or anything like that, but I imagine they saw Marvel doing the cinematic universe and they were like, we need to catch up. And they didn't quite do it the best way possible. So now they're forced to think, what does Marvel Studios not have? Well, thus far, Marvel Studios has not done the very personal, low-budget approach to one of their villains. There may be Marvel Studios movies that have done villains very well, but that's very different than what we're talking about with this Joker movie. This sounds like Joker movie in the vein of Unbreakable or something. That's actually really cool, and that's learning from your mistakes. I really want this movie to do well. I mean, well, by do well, I mean be good and do well. And if this is good, critically acclaimed, lands with the fans, and is financially successful, then that might tell other studios out there like, hey, you can do that too. You can do a good character piece, keep it low budget, people like that. Holy shit, you can actually do an Obi-Wan movie that people will want to see. So I feel like right now, Lucasfilm's like, Obi-Wan Kenobi, but low budget, It does not compel danger. And it's like they just fry a circuit or something. I'm not saying there haven't been superhero movies or movies in superhero universes that didn't concentrate on the character. I'm not saying there aren't superhero movies with comparatively smaller budgets, like Deadpool comes to mind. But those movies still feel like they're from their respective universes. I would love for this Joker origin story to not feel like a DC Universe movie. I don't want to feel like Batman's just around the corner. If this movie does well, it could be a good lesson to a lot of studios that, yeah, you don't have to do the comic book movie, big budget, crazy, summer action blockbuster. You can do it in other ways. I think that's very important. Also, Glass by Shyamalan. I think for a lot of those reasons, a lot of eyes are going to be on that too. Point is, I'm interested. Joker origin story, never asked for it, but Joaquin Phoenix coming onto it, I feel like that's legit. I don't feel like he'll stand for some bullshit. All right, so Joaquin Phoenix doing a Joker standalone movie in the way they apparently want to do it. Have you heard about it? What do you think about it? Whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more. Funny, have you heard it? Because you just did. There's no way you got to this point and didn't hear about it after hearing me talk about it. That was dumb.